Before we get into today's game, I want to talk about the sponsors for my channel. Card Conduit is the best way to sell your unused Magic cards. Whether you've got a box of unsorted bulk, or a complete and alphabetized set, there's a great option for everyone. With a payout averaging 19% better than using any one buy list, and that's after fees are applied, you can rest assured you'll get the best bang for your buck. If you're a skeptic like me, their easy customer service and detailed reports make the whole interaction transparent and safe. And if you use the affiliate link in the description below, or the promo code MTGMUDSTA, you'll save 10% off their fees. And 401 Games, Canada's one-stop shop for trading cards, board games, and hobby supplies. Not to mention an easy-to-use and great online buy list. And if you use the promo code MTGMUDSTA, your first purchase of MTG Sealed and Singles will be 5% off. And Dragon Shield, the strongest sleeves for your strongest deck. So be sure to use the code MUDSTA or the affiliate link down below to save 5% on your next order. Today's patron shoutout goes to Adam. Thanks Adam for supporting me through Patreon. Hey gang, and welcome back. Today's Commander game has Max, Mika, and Ian rejoining me again. Ian is playing his mono-white deck, which tends to have a rotating commander, and in today's game it's Danitha. He keeps Roadside Reliquary, 3 Plains, Benevolent Blessing, Ethereal Armor, and 3 Dreams. Mika is testing out his Obeka deck, having changed it from the 9th Doctor and Adric, keeping Evolving Wilds, Scalding Tarn, Court of Cunning, Stolen Strategy, Maestro's Theater, Swamp, and a Sword Coast Sailor. Maximus has borrowed up my Coram deck to get some more testing in, and he's got a Blood Crypt, Shelter Thicket, Deathrite Shaman, Titan Rex, Nyx Weaver, Warped Tuskar, and Yargle and Miltani. Last but not least, I am playing Azlask, keeping Pitiless Plunderer, Eldrazi Ravager, Temple Garden, Abstruse Interference, Drowned Catacombs, Emrakul's Messenger, and a Tarnished Citadel. Maximus wins the die roll and starts us off. He draws, plays a Forest, and casts a turn 1 Deathrite Shaman. I just play a tap Steam Vents, passing after that. Mika plays a Maestro's Theater, sacrificing it as it comes in, gaining 1 life, and goes to find an island. Ian just plays a Plains. Max draws, and plays a Swamp. He then uses the Deathrite Shaman to exile the Theater from Mika's graveyard to help cast a Nyx Weaver. He passes after that. I draw and play a Drowned Catacomb. I then pay 2 mana for Emrakul's Messenger and pass to Mika after that. Mika draws and plays an Evolving Wilds, wanting to feed Maximus for some reason, and he sacrifices it, going to find another island. He then passes to Ian after that. Ian draws, plays a Plains, and casts Arcane Signet. Maximus's upkeep has him milling 2 and drawing. He then plays a Blood Crypt untapped, losing 2, and he exiles the Evolving Wilds to help cast Coram. Going to combat, Max pokes Ian with the Nyx Weaver for 2 and passes. I draw and play Temple Garden. I then pay 2 mana to cycle the Eldrazi Ravager from my hand, and as I draw my second card for turn, get to make an Eldrazi spawn from the Emrakul's Messenger. I pass to Mika after that. Mika draws and plays a Swamp. He then pays enough for a Court of Cunning, which has him becoming the Monarch as it comes in. He then passes, drawing during his end step. Ian draws and plays a Roadside Reliquary. He then has enough mana for Danitha, and he passes once his commander resolves. Maximus mills 2 on his upkeep, hitting Brawn, and then draws for turn. Going to combat, he swings the Deathrite Shaman at Mika, the Nyx Weaver at Ian, and Coram goes at me. Everyone mills 1 with Coram attacking, and then we all declare no blocks. Before damage, Maximus cycles Titan Rex to grow Coram to 11 power, and puts a trample counter onto his Nyx Weaver, and I then take 11. While Mika and Ian take 1 and 2 respectively. Maximus then becomes the Monarch, and in his post-combat main phase, plays the mountain he milled from his graveyard, and then casts an Arcane Signet from his graveyard as well. He then uses it to help cast Ignoble Hierarch, and after that, he passes. He draws during the end step because he's the Monarch. I draw and cast a Skittering Precursor, and then play a Windswept Heath. I pass to Mika after that. Mika chooses not to mill anyone on his upkeep and draws for turn. He plays an island and then casts Solemn, going to find a mountain as the sad robot enters. He passes to Ian after that. Ian draws and plays a Plains. He casts Timely Ward on Danitha, and then suits her up with a Benevolent Blessing as well, choosing black. Going to combat, he swings her at Max, and Max chooses to chump with the Ignoble Hierarch to protect the monarchy, and with nothing else, Ian passes. Maximus mills 2 and draws for turn. He goes to combat and swings Coram at Ian. We each mill our top card, and Ian blocks 2 of the damage with Danitha, but takes the rest. In his post-combat main phase, Maximus then plays Command Tower from his graveyard, and then cycles a Warped Tusker, making an Eldrazi spawn. He then casts Gift of Immortality from Ian's graveyard, enchanting his commander, and then moves to his end step. He gets the Monarchy trigger, and I sacrifice my Windswept Heath, losing 1 to find a land while Max draws. I also get to make a spawn token from the Skittering Precursor. I draw and play an Exotic Orchard. I then cast Osier Attack and pass to Mika. Mika draws and plays a Scalding Tarn, losing 1 for a mountain, and then casts Obeka. He follows his commander up with a Sword Coast Sailor, and then passes to Ian. Ian draws and casts All That Glitters onto Danitha, and then puts a Candlelight Vigil onto her as well. Going to combat, Ian swings Danitha at Max, who chumps with an Eldrazi spawn token, and then sacrifices it before damage to prevent the life gain from the lifelink. With nothing else, Ian passes. Maximus mills 2 and then draws for turn. He moves to combat and swings Coram at Mika, and we all mill 1. He mills a Temur Battle Rage off of Mika, and he casts it, giving Coram Double Strike and Trample. Mika soaks up 2 of the damage with Solemn, but still takes 20 commander damage in 1 hit. In his post-combat main phase, Max then plays a Reflecting Pool from his graveyard, and exiles my Windswept Heath with the Deathrite Shaman to help cast the Great Henge. He then plays Arden from Ian's graveyard. Max then continues by cycling a land, and then draws from being the Monarch during his end step. My turn has a Tarnished Citadel coming in, and I then cast a Pitiless Plunderer. I then sacrifice the Skittering Precursor and a spawn token to return Eldrazi Ravager to my hand, which makes me 6 treasure tokens, thanks to Osier Attack and the Pitiless Plunderer. I also get a Skittering Precursor trigger since I sacrificed it, and I get to make 3 Eldrazi spawn tokens thanks to Osier Attack. I then crack 2 treasures, cycling the Ravager, which is my second card draw, which makes me 3 spawn tokens from Emrakul's Messenger. I follow that up by casting Enlightened Tutor, and go and find Warleader's Call, and put it on top of my library. I then continue by casting Azlask, and once he's out, sacrifice 2 of my spawn tokens to bring back the Eldrazi Ravager to my hand. This makes me 6 more treasure tokens, and gains me 2 experience counters. And I then cycle the Ravager again, drawing a card, which is the Warleader's Call. I cast the call, and then pass to Mika. Mika mills his opponents for 2 thanks to the court, and then draws for turn, and casts Stirring Bard, which as it comes in, gains him the initiative. He gets to go and find a basic from the first room, putting it to hand, and then suspends an Inevitable Betrayal, and goes to combat. He swings Obeka at Max, who has most life, and Max can't block because of the Sword Coast Sailor. Obeka then connects, with Mika getting 2 more upkeeps, and takes the Monarchy. This has us all milling 10, and Mika puts 2+1/+1 counters onto Obeka from the first upkeep as he moves into another room. We then move to the next upkeep and mill another 10, and Mika goes further into the Undercity, goading Coram with the Undercity trigger, all the while continuing to tick down Inevitable Betrayal. Mika then moves through his phases, going to his end step, and draws from being the Monarch. Ian draws and casts 3 Dreams, going to find Pacifism, Battle Mastery, and Holy Mantle, and puts them to hand. Ian then swings Danitha at Max, and Max chumps with Arden. Ian still gains 16 though. Maximus mills his 2 and draws. He then exiles the Nyxweaver to get Chandra's Ignition back to hand and casts it, targeting Coram. I respond with Abstruse Interference, but Max pays the 1, although I still get 3 spawn tokens. I deal 3 to everyone with the War Leader's Call as they come in, and then sacrifice 2 of them, making 6 more treasures, and return the Eldrazi Ravager to my hand. I cycle the Ravager, and after drawing, do the same thing again, sacrificing 2 more spawns, making 6 more treasures, and returning it to my hand, and I then cycle the Ravager again. This is my second card for turn, which triggers the Emrakul's Messenger, making me 3 more spawns. I then sacrifice the spawns even more to recycle the Ravager yet again. This is also gaining me a bunch of experience counters, and I then use all of my treasures to pump up my team 3 times with Azlask, which gives them plus 24/24, and lets them survive the ignition. Mika unfortunately dies, and Danitha lives because of Indestructible, while Max loses everything outside of Coram. The Initiative and Monarchy go to Max, and he gets a basic off the Undercity. Going to combat, Coram is still goated, and he swings it at me, and we mill our top card. I block with a spawn token, but still take some commander damage because of the damage being on my spawn because of Ignition, but Coram at least dies. With Coram dying, the Gift of Immortality brings him back. And in his second main phase, Max then casts a Soul Ring from his graveyard, and casts Lavispur Boots, and passes to me. I draw and cast Moldervine Reclamation, and then sacrifice 2 of my spawns for 2 mana, and draw 2 and gain 2 life. I get to make 3 more spawns because of the Emrakul's Messenger as a result, which deal 3 to my opponents as they come in. And I then cast Idol of False Gods with 2 mana. I follow that up by casting an Ogre Battle Driver, and then activate the Idol to make 3 more spawns, all of which get +2/+0 and haste from the Battle Driver, plus deal another 3 thanks to the War Leader's Call. I then sacrifice my 3 summoning 6 spawns that I made earlier, drawing 3 cards, gaining 3 life, and making even more treasure tokens. I follow it up by casting Chittering Dispatcher, which also gets the Battle Driver bonus, and once that's out, activate Azlask to give my team +13/+13, and I go to combat. I swing the Flying Emrakul's Messenger at Ian, and the rest go at Max. With Ian unable to block and gain life, and Max certainly dead on board, they know when they're beat and scoop it up. Game review time. So, this game was 1 hour, 13 minutes, and 27 seconds, and Azlask continues to be a surprisingly good commander. I think part of it is that it does nothing until it does way too much, and there's just so many payoffs and enablers in the deck that if given enough time, I'm eventually going to do something just insane. I thought the particularly fun interaction between the Emrakul's Messenger, Ogier Attack, and the Eldrazi Ravager was pretty good, although all it really did was draw me a card and make me a bunch of Scions, but that's sometimes just enough to do. Danitha, unfortunately for Ian, did not have a reliable way to get protection from Colorless. That meant that he really couldn't reliably attack me, and everyone else was not really as threatening as I was. Maximus was a bigger issue, but even he was able to get some Eldrazi Scion tokens or Spawn tokens to block easily. Coram was really great. I think it did particularly well this game. That Titanoth Rex is just enormous, and it gives a trample counter, so it means that Coram is probably going to get through. The Chandra's Ignition play was particularly spicy, and I think had I not been able to do what I did with that crazy turn involving 2 activations of Azlask, we were probably all dead. Mika's Obeka deck is fun. I like Obeka a lot. I think it functions way better, way better than the 9th Doctor and Adric, although all you have to do is put them into the 99 and I'm sure they'd be even better. And I think black adds a little bit more that you probably want, which is like reliable tutors and probably some discard, although I know Mika isn't particularly big on discard because he kind of gets targeted pretty hard whenever he does, and also he's got his Anya Falconwrath, which does the exact same. It's also combat-based, which is something that I really enjoy because it helps promote moving the game forward by knocking people's life total down, and he runs some combat tricks, which can add up pretty quickly. Overall, I thought it was a particularly fun game, albeit a little bit fast once I've edited it down, because a lot of the turns were just me making scions and then pinging people, but it was just a great showing, I think. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.